Welcome to episode 8 of If You Can, I Can, dedicated to all the inspiring Islanders out there. Today I have someone with me that I think you will find to be very inspirational. He's president of MLS. He's broker in charge of Carolina Realty Group, a pilot in training. He served in the Air Force, father of a beautiful daughter, Dora, and husband, an all-around champion leader. He calls himself an introvert. He's innovative, entrepreneurial, and very forward-thinking. Welcome, Dan Prud'homme.
Hey, Kim. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
So I know you're so used to being in the interviewer seat, and so it's kind of fun to have you on the other side.
It's fun for you.
Yeah, it is fun for me.
Maybe not so fun for me.
That's right. And we're not even going to talk about real estate. We're just going to talk about you.
Okay, even worse.
So here we go. First, give everyone a little background about yourself, because I think you have a very diverse and interesting story to tell, and also what brought you to Hilton Head.
Okay. So I had a really great childhood. Parents were high school sweethearts and still married to this day. So grew up in a great environment with my sister up in New Hampshire. I had fun in school. In high school, and wasn't a great student because I spent a lot of time having fun and working. I've worked as long as I can remember, cutting grass, and then working. I worked at Wendy's for a long time.
Oh, that's awesome.
When I was in high school.
Did you cook or serve?
I did it all.
Okay.
I did it all, and so when I was finishing up high school. I wasn't very interested in going to college. I was interested in working. I liked working. And so my parents said to me, like, what's your plan? And I said, I'm just going to work. And they're like, well, you're not going to live with us. Like, you need to go off on your own. So they basically, the only option they gave me, as I recollect it, they might speak differently, but I think I have this correct, was that I needed to join the military. And they saw that in me. I think they saw that, I was a hard worker and everything, but I needed to grow up. Yeah. And so I looked at the different services, and it was between the Navy and the Air Force. And the Navy made me a really nice offer, but I didn't want to be on a submarine. So I joined the Air Force and went to Texas for basic training, and it changed my life. I grew up instantly. I became a man overnight, or more of a man overnight. And so I finished up my basic training. I went to tech school in Biloxi, Mississippi for electronics. Got basically an associate's degree in electronics. And my first duty assignment was in South Korea. I was totally shocked with South Korea. I was thinking like Vietnam, like movies like Hotter Than Hell and rice paddies and all that kind of stuff. And I've never seen so much snow in my life.
Really? I wouldn't think of that either. Although they did have the Olympics there, right? That wasn't.
Yeah, it like I grew up in New Hampshire. It made New Hampshire look like Florida. It was insane, and they don't have the equipment, the snow plows, the salt trucks to deal with it. So like when winter comes, you just put chains on your tires and you keep driving. And they literally like drive over there with chains on the tires of their motorcycles in the winter. It's crazy. That's crazy. So I spent a year there, made some really close friends that I'm, thanks to social media, in touch with today. And came back to the States, went to Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. That was really good. Decided that I love the military, but I didn't like the income, and I knew I wanted to have a family, and I knew that wasn't the environment that I wanted to. No disrespect to those people that have wonderful families that are in the military, but I knew it wasn't what I wanted for my family, and so I got out of the military. My parents had moved from New Hampshire to here, and I had visited them. Excuse me. I visited my folks a couple times. And decided that I was going to come here and use the GI Bill to go back to school, which is what I did. And to work my way through school, I had the GI Bill paying for my tuition. But rather than doing food and beverage, I started hanging wallpaper. And so I wallpapered people's bathrooms when I wasn't in class. And, by the time I was finishing up college, I had been painting houses, and I had like 50 employees. Yeah. And so, as I wrapped up, I moved and transitioned right into that business. So I operated that business for probably 10 years or so. And towards the end of that, I also opened up a landscape maintenance company. And so operated that, and then met my wife, Sherry. Mm-hmm. And my parents had talked to her about, maybe you should talk to Dan about getting into real estate. And I never really took it serious. Mm-hmm. I saw lots of kids that grew up where the family owned a business. And, they took like the idea that they were going to take over that business as like their birthright. Mm-hmm. And my ego didn't want people to think that like anything was given to me. Mm-hmm. And, my other businesses, the painting and the landscaping business, it did really well. And so I was like, nah, I'm pretty good with, what I'm doing. But, at some point it made sense to me to do something different. I did well, but I had like 50, hourly low wage employees working for me. Yeah. They don't make the best decisions every day.
Right. And that can be difficult to manage.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely affected, as a person that always believes in doing the right thing, whatever it takes, when you walk into a house and you've got a guy standing on somebody's $20,000 countertops in their boots, like it just makes you want to rip your hair out. Right. So it was ultimately that is kind of what finally led me to make the decision that I was going to transition out of that and get a real estate license.
Wow. That's an interesting journey. I want to go back to your time in the Air Force for a minute. So what was your specialty?
So I became an expert in a couple different surface to air missile systems. I was in Korea during the first Gulf War. Mm-hmm. I can remember that morning that we were going to work and we got the call that we just started bombing, and how we all felt as being military folks.
How did you feel? Just out of curiosity.
Proud. Mm-hmm. It was very much a feeling like our relatives had gone to war. Mm-hmm. Even though like my job, I would never go to war because I trained, with pilots to go to war. Mm-hmm. And if there was a war on, I was basically out of business. But yeah, like humble. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, when I joined the military, I never thought that there was going to be a war.
Yeah. So in just real quick, diving a little deeper into that specialty, were you always fascinated with, I imagine that's very tech oriented, with technology and all of those things, or did you just kind of fall into that? That's probably...
So to be honest with you, I went through tech school and it was very technical. It was electronics. It was digital circuits, all that stuff. I was average at best. Mm-hmm. Like at best, I was average. So I don't really look back at that time and say, oh, that's when I fell in love with technology. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I honestly don't remember that point where I was like, oh, this is where it's at. I mean, I remember Sherry and I dating. And me saying to her, this was back in the days of dial-up and all that kind of stuff. When I think about the possibilities with the internet and how to do things, it blows my mind. I mean, when I had the painting company at that time, I had a Palm Pilot. There's no phone in it. It was just like this dumb thing that you put all your stuff in and you'd have to go home and plug it in and things would download. But it just... I was always searching for to streamline, like I don't want to write somebody's name and then type it into an invoice. Mm-hmm. If I could just type it in once. I always loved that. Yeah. I remember driving around with my truck with a portable printer that was plugged into the cigarette lighter so that, the idea is if somebody made a change on the job, I could literally do and execute the change order immediately instead of waiting until I got home at night. So
it's kind of intuitive for you, just, to always be looking at systems and operations and all those kinds of things, which makes a lot of sense knowing you. So,
well, Kim, I think we all have this responsibility to ourselves and to our families and to the people that we work with, to be as efficient as we can and not waste time. Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing that I love about technology is if it's done right, you make this investment up front in time to learn something, but it should make you way more efficient on the other end. Right. And so that people will then look at you and be like, man, how does Kim get all that done in a day? Mm-hmm. Well, it's because of all the work that you did before that.
Right. Right.
To make yourself more efficient.
All the behind the scenes stuff. Tell me, what's different about Dan today versus Dan 10 years ago?
Everything. Like it's literally everything.
How did that come about? I'm curious.
Kim, the honest answer is there's no, I wish I could tell you like it was this one thing. But it's everything. I feel this, and I don't want this to sound negative because it's not. Like I feel this incredible responsibility to so many people. And again, not in a negative sense. So please don't it's not like a burden.
No.
But it's like you came here and joined my work family, and my work family. For me, my work family and my family is those lines are extremely blurry. Like I don't look at you differently because you don't have the same blood as me. But you made a commitment to us, and I feel like I made a commitment back to you. And so every decision I make, everything that I do in terms of how I conduct myself, whether I hang out at bars at night and get drunk and like that's all a reflection on all of us, and I love that. Yeah. I love that. And I don't remember when I started really feeling that way, but like at some point I really started to feel that way in terms of my daughter, my wife, all the people at work, my parents. I want to be the person that makes all of them very proud.
Yeah. And I think that's so respectable. And I think why everyone here just really respects you and looks up to you. And this is somewhat redundant of what you said, but I just think it's interesting. So I listened to this podcast the other day and they were talking about how to stay focused.
What's a podcast?
Yeah, right.
Like you and
how many do you listen to?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's a constant. Like
it is. I can't get enough. But the host point was to figure out what your driving purpose is behind whatever it is you are doing and let it drive your desire to succeed. So what is your driving purpose? How does that affect you and those around you?
So you can verify with Sherry that this is going to sound maybe a little bit morbid, but this really is, the piece that I always come back to. I'm very cognizant of the fact that there's going to be one day that I'm not here anymore. And I'm not living my life for that day, but when I close my eyes for the last time and I see the people that are around me, I want to feel back from them that I've contributed and left something behind so that when I close my eyes and I'm gone, there's something that carries on. That is in everything that I do. That is in not the back of my mind, maybe not in the front of my mind, but it's who I am. And I know it sounds morbid. You know who Jesse Itzler is?
Yeah, I love Jesse Itzler.
He talked about, I don't know if you ever heard this about him. He doesn't do it anymore, but he went to a website where you put in all of your health factors and it tells you the day that you're going to die.
Oh, right.
And he took that, whatever day it was, and the day that he was going to die and figured out how many days that was. And he wrote it on his arm. And every day he would cross it out and write the new day.
Wow.
And for him, he said, I stopped doing it because my wife didn't like it. She felt like it was morbid. But for me, it wasn't morbid at all. It was a constant reminder to not put things off and to go for it. Like, why not try?
Right. Why not?
Yeah. And you've heard me say that people ask me, what's my why? And my why is my why not.
Right.
And it's literally, and maybe it's just, I'm so dumb to it. Like, why not me?
Yeah.
Like, why can somebody else? Like, why not me? And the only reason I can come with why not, like literally why I couldn't, is me. Like, is if I decide I'm going to do it, then I've got to get those around me to see the vision. And that starts with my wife. And then we if it's the right thing, we go for it, and we don't let the world tell us that there's anything we can't do.
Well, I remember the first time I met you, I was wearing the "If You Can, I Can" bracelet, and you said, "Tell me about that." if you can, I can. What is that? Like, that's how I live my life. Why not me? If this person can do it, why can't I do it?
It's so true.
Yeah. So I think that's cool. What's it been like to lead a company through the pandemic? I'm just curious, like, in John Gordon's book, Power of a Positive Team, he says, create a positive culture that energizes and encourages each other, which I think you most definitely have done that around here. So do you think that helped a lot in that difficult situation as that all began and unfolded? Or
so to answer your question directly, what's it been like? It's been the greatest privilege of my life. I've learned so much about myself. Mm-hmm. Now that we're in this for 9 months or 10 months or however long it is, it's easy to look back in like Monday morning quarterback and be like, wow, I mean, you played that perfectly. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Yeah. I got up every day. I focused on the things that I knew. I supported the people around me. You, Preston, behind the camera. Like, I remember Preston and I, who's, again, behind the camera, getting together every single morning when, everybody was afraid to leave their house. Mm-hmm. And we basically said, let's forget about real estate. How are we going to help the community? And, I made offers to deliver meals for free for local restaurants so that they could stay in business. We interviewed them and tried to get that word out that we were doing that. Like, we focused on how we could help people.
Mm-hmm. You really have a servant's heart, kind of.
I think I do. Yeah. I think most people that have known me a long time might not know that about me, but yeah, I mean, I like, again, I want to leave more than I take.
Yeah.
From the world.
I love that. It's really impressive. Describe yourself in 4 words.
Well, I'm ambitious. Mm-hmm. I'm stubborn. Mm-hmm. I'm probably maybe the most loyal person that you'll ever meet. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I think I'm righteous, meaning I'll do the right thing every time, even if people don't understand why. Yeah. And it leaves me alone on an island, I'm going to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. That has come back to haunt me in certain points in my past, where I did what I thought was the right thing without concern for the optics on that, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's something that I've learned more about. So when I'm making a tough decision, where before I would just make the decision and say, like, I know it's the right decision, I'm all in on it, and I would just go in. Now what I do is I make that decision, but then I'm very open with all those around me about why I'm making the decision and why I think it's the right decision, so that my approach before is like, let people think what they want to think about it. But now I'm much more communicative about why I'm making those decisions. So I'm super decisive.
Yes, I think that's a strength for sure. What's something people would be shocked to know about you?
There's so many things. I mean, there's so many.
What's one thing?
I'm a super emotional guy.
Yeah.
I cry at the drop of a hat. Sherry will tell you that. Like, I'm like, there's many people here that stuff goes on in their personal lives, or, and we connect on a subject, and I'm filled up and they're filled up. But yeah, I'm a super emotional guy. Yeah.
That's a strength, by the way. That's a strength. You're vegan. Yeah. How did you decide to become vegan?
Yeah, that's true. That's something that most people would know about me, right? So, my dad had, my dad is one of the healthiest guys that I know. He hadn't eaten red meat and sweets, like, for my whole childhood, because, he was always, really focused on his health, specifically his heart health. And so he did everything the doctors told him to do. He ate the fish, and he didn't eat the sweets, and he didn't eat the red meat, and didn't eat fried foods. Like, I mean, he literally ate like textbook the way the doctors would tell you to do it. And I don't know, it was maybe 5-6 years ago now, he had a scare and he had to have a stent put in. And he's the person in the world that's most like me.
Yeah.
And I remember the despair of, you know, like I've done everything they told me to do and I got this death sentence. And, you know, he's looking for alternatives and it wasn't just going to accept that fate. And so he found a doctor by the name of Caldwell Esselstyn, and he he was in a movie called Forks Over Knives. We watched that movie, and it was very impactful. And Dad got his book, and he read his book, and then like he sent the guy an email. And remember Dad and I were having lunch, and Dr. Esselstyn, who's kind of a famous, he's in his 80s now, guy called my dad to just I wasn't charging him anything, just wanted to talk to him and kind of help him. And Dr. Esselstyn is from Cleveland Clinic, and he's a pioneer in cardio research. And he's put out lots of books about the benefits of the word that we all know is veganism in terms of eating, but it's really called a plant-based diet. And it's a whole food plant-based diet. So it's, you know, chips are vegan. We don't eat chips.
Yeah.
Oreos are vegan. Don't eat Oreos. Eat beans and rice and vegetables and trying to get that cholesterol out of your diet.
Yeah.
The most cholesterol-laden foods are meat and cheese and dairy products. And so that's how it started for me, and supporting my dad and knowing that, you know, I'm like him in so many ways, including probably my future in terms of my heart health. And so it took me a while to go kind of get all the way. My favorite food in the world is chicken wings. So like the thought of waking up and never being able to eat a chicken wing again was hard to bear. And then cheese was a really hard thing to give up. But, you know, I did it over time.
Yeah.
And
you probably feel better. Yeah.
I do. And I'm proud of it. Like, you know, there's people out there that make fun of vegans. And I'm like, you know, dude, okay.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, you make fun of me. I don't care.
I can take it.
Like, you're making fun of me that like I'm not eating an animal and an animal didn't have to die for me to eat. Like, okay, that's your deal.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, it's a good way to live. Switching gears, it's said in the book, Think and Grow Rich, that persistence is the direct result of habits. What do you see as the most important habits you've cultivated over time?
Well, I mean, I'm grateful. I'm so, like, I live the most charmed, blessed life, regardless of the little bumps in the road that come my way. I am just incredibly grateful. And I think, you know, starting every day, realizing that, appreciating that, it gives you this power of, like, it doesn't matter, like, if you make a good decision or a bad decision, like, it just doesn't matter. Like, life is great already. And so let's just do what we think is right. And so I know it's not a habit.
I think it is, though, because I think being grateful and deciding to live your life that way is a habit, because it's not always easy to feel grateful in certain situations or whatever. And it's a choice, and you have to consciously do that. And the more that I feel like the more you do it, it does become an active habit. And then the more you just completely change the way you look at things and think about things, it becomes a power. Like you said, I think it's an incredible habit for people to develop.
I can't agree more that it is a decision. And we all have a choice every single day that we get up to decide what kind of day we're going to have. You talked a little bit about John Gordon. That was the most impactful book that I've ever read in my life, was The Positive Dog.
Yes.
I read it. Sherry's read it multiple times. Our daughter has read it.
I've read it.
Basically, everybody that works here, I give them a copy and ask them to read it. And the message in A Positive Dog is it's all about your outlook. And that book profoundly, like, I totally bought in it, and it profoundly changed my life. And so it's super easy to be positive when everything's going great. But when your wife calls you crying and says she just got a cancer diagnosis, can you be positive then?
Yeah.
And because of our relationship, we were able to be.
Right.
but it wasn't a natural response.
Sure. Absolutely. And
but it made all the difference.
Yeah. In the whole way you approached it. And I mean, of course, Sherry was my first guest on my first episode here, and just really shared her strength and positive outlook and all of that. But I do agree. I think strength and power come from choosing to be grateful. And if I could go on and talk about that for a long time, but I think that is just incredibly powerful, and probably the most important habit that anyone can cultivate, because it can really change the course of your life. It can
change the course of every day, which changes your life. Like if you just change it every day, like all of a sudden, the whole world changes for you. Your whole outlook on the world changes for you. John Gordon kind of gives an example, and I experienced this exact example this morning. So a lot of stuff to do today. I drive out of my driveway at 7:15. That's my goal, 7:12, 7:15. So coming up to the light, I live in Moss Creek. Traffic is backed up all the way through the light. So I kind of cut through, get in line, and I get out there and I realize like traffic just isn't moving. And John Gordon gives this example about like it truly is your outlook. And the example he gives is like, how come some days you pull off and you get into traffic and you're just like, oh, in traffic, like this sucks. Like I got to be somewhere and all this stuff, right? And that's one day. And then the very next day you could drive out and be in traffic and the sun's out and your sunroof is open and the right song is on the radio. And you're just like, this is kind of cool. I'm going to take the slow ride home. So that same thing happened this morning. I got sat in traffic and I like my temperature started to go up and I remembered that. Yes. And I'm like, screw it. Like I'm not like getting frustrated with it's not going to change anything. Right. So like, let me use this time to put some positive thoughts in my mind. And that's what I did. And
finding opportunity.
Yeah. So, and so then when I got here, I was like, you were one of the first person I saw when I got here this morning. I'm ready to go. I think you said, how are you? And I said, I'm fantastic.
Yep. That's exactly what you said. So, back to Sherry and you and her cancer diagnosis. It's of course most difficult for the person who is dealing with the diagnosis, the illness, whatever it may be. But it's also very difficult for those that love them, that play a supporting role. And so my question to you really is, what has that been like for you? And how have you grown from that whole experience?
It's a hard question to answer because if I answer it really truly how I feel, I'm going to sound insensitive. But it's the greatest experience of my life. Another great experience. Yeah. This pandemic, I remember when it first started, Sherry and I, getting ready in the morning for work and in the bathroom. And lots of times that's where we'll have, because it's just her and I, will have conversations about lots of things, money, relationship, things that are working at work, things that aren't, right? And she's just all filled up. It was all uncertainty, like the burden of the uncertainty. Right. And I said, like, let's stop worrying about what we don't know and let's worry about the things that we can do, right? So Sherry, you're head of finance for us personally and for the business. So like, these are the steps that you can take, right? I'm the leader of the company. So these are the steps I'm going to take. Let's not worry anything. Let's promise we're not going to worry anything about what we don't have control over and just focus on what we can control. And if that's not enough, excuse my language, fuck it. Like if it's not enough, screw it. Like there's nothing we can do. Right. And we embraced that day. And we did the same thing a couple months later when she got her diagnosis. Yeah. And we're closer. Sherry and I are closer because of the pandemic. Yeah. Our company is stronger because of the pandemic. We're tighter as an organization. We're tighter as a family. Like I'm so sorry for the people that have lost their lives and all of that stuff. But like I've walked into it with gratitude. Yeah. And I couldn't be happier. And we walked into her diagnosis with gratitude. And the decision that we were going to only focus on what we could do. Yeah. And we were going to let the rest go.
Yeah. And again, it's that habit of gratitude that allows you to pivot from fear and just, face everything with the right mindset and attitude and that is just a win almost no matter what happens. It's just,
isn't that the beauty of it, is you can make a choice to always win, even when things aren't necessarily going your way, just completely based on mindset. Mm-hmm. Like if you decide you win, you win.
You win.
Every time.
Yeah. And it's a choice. It is a choice. It's like you just you have to stop any of those negative thoughts and just pivot from them and remind yourself, okay, this is the good. This is what I'm going to focus on. And I think you lead very well with that. We discussed that you are an avid reader and a books type person. You mentioned the positive dog as being, really pivotal for you. I just wanted to mention that you've even installed a positive library in our office, which I think is so cool. And I think people are really starting to catch the book fever around here, which I think, again, like leads back to you from the way you lead everybody else. And so I think that's having such a positive impact on people personally. And then, of course, that then translates professionally and all those things. So
the professional part is just a byproduct of good people.
Yeah.
Right. And so we talk about positive dog, but the true statement in the book is feed the positive dog.
Right.
If you feed the positive dog, the grateful person, the starving dog dies.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the Positivity Library is just an opportunity for those here that want to feed their positive dog so that we can all lean on each other and share with each other the things that have helped us and motivated us and fed that dog.
Yeah.
Because Kim, if you stop feeding it, the gratefulness, the gratitude will go away.
Right.
And then you drive out and there's traffic and you're pissed off.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's what the Positivity Library is. It's not for everybody. It's for all of us.
Right.
Like it's for me too. Right.
Yeah.
Like we have, this might sound crazy. Since my time in the military, I never worked for anybody. So I don't know what it's like in other places.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just know that I want the place that I'm coming to work every day to be a place that inspires me. And what inspires me is being surrounded by people that are smarter than me and more inspired by me. And it's like this big snowball. And it's fun.
It is fun. I mean, I can attest to that. It's fun. It's a happy, great place to be in a business that can be really difficult.
Not if you're grateful.
But right. Exactly. So my last question that I always finish off with is, what advice would you give to somebody whose life was going about seamlessly and it suddenly took a hard left?
Again, I don't want to sound cliche, but it's being grateful. I mean, during the pandemic, during any hardship, you got to have a North Star that's high enough above the horizon that you can always see it, that's well defined, that's bright enough that you can see it through the fog and the clouds. And then, when the seas get rough, you have a group of people around you, and you don't lie to them. You don't tell them that it's easy or anything like that, but you get together and you focus on what you can do. And I know in our meetings during the pandemic, I just told everybody, the seas are rough. We all just need to grab our oar, know that the person next to us has their oar, and we need to row like hell. Yeah. And just keep rowing. And if we do, I think we'll be fine. Yeah. I draw so much on the fact that I'm with like-minded people. I'm just a boy. I have dreams for where I want to be in my life and what I want to accomplish and the things I want to do, like flying. That's a huge one for me. And I'm rowing like hell. Yeah. Or the analogy of climbing a ladder. But what I want to do and what I get such a thrill out of as I'm, charging towards my dreams, I'm very cognizant of turning around and kind of reaching back. Yeah. And also helping those people that are around me that I love. Yeah. immensely, especially here at the office, to help them feel empowered to chase their dreams as well.
And that's truly amazing, and just speaks to you as the person you are, the leader you are.
The luckiest guy. I'm the luckiest person that you've ever interviewed on this podcast.
Well, with that, I thank you for being here. Thank you for being vulnerable and sitting in that hot seat over there instead of in my seat interviewing, like you're more comfortable with. So I really do appreciate it. And you already have a bracelet, so I'm not going to give you one today. But I hope all of you enjoyed this as much as I did. And if you have anybody you'd like to nominate to be on If You Can, I Can, please call or text me at 843-368-1300. Go out there today, win your day, and remember, if you can, I can.